Fiat money breeds wars, and Bitcoin is the answer to peace. Buy Bitcoin, keep peace.
Fiat money breeds war. Bitcoin monetizes peace and love. And I explain why that is, because it's unconfiscatable. So no matter how much coercion you attempt or violence, you cannot get my Bitcoin. So you have to come at me with something different. You have to come out with something that I want in exchange for my Bitcoin in a peaceful way. Violence and war are demonetized by Bitcoin.
And there's a quick excerpt from Max Kaiser, and Max is sitting there telling you that Bitcoin is freedom and Bitcoin is the answer to have peace. So with that, if you want to hear more from Max, you can check him out at Max Kaiser on Twitter or X, and also at maxkaiser.com. Before we get to any of that, we got a jam-packed video for you today. Before we get to any of that, what's happening in crypto crew? Sean's coming back at you, another cryptocurrency video. So getting straight into it, some major news. Grayscale's chief legal officer says spot Bitcoin ETF approval is a matter of when, not a matter if anymore. So this is major news. The ETF's coming, so whether that comes next week, next month, tomorrow, next year, it's coming. It's in the pipe. But they're also talking about the chairman, Gary Gensler of the SEC. Hear what they have to say. Hear what this congressman has to say about Gary Gensler and him being incompetent when not being able to pass a Bitcoin spot ETF.
In August, the United States Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit found the SEC to be acting arbitrarily and capriciously in its refusal to approve Grayscale's Bitcoin spot ETF application. And just last month, the Government Accountability Office found the SEC to have created an illegal crypto accounting rule that is actually out of compliance with the Administrative Procedure Act and the Congressional Review Act. The unique characteristics of digital assets make it hard to fit this asset class into any existing regulatory framework. That doesn't mean crypto is up for grabs by whatever federal bureaucratic agency has the most taxpayer-funded enforcement resources to burn. Congress is working on legislation to establish a framework for how we classify specific digital assets as a security or a commodity, which will dictate the regulator of jurisdiction. Importantly, while Congress works to pass this necessary legislation, my amendment will not prevent future bad actors like FTX from being pursued and punished to the fullest extent of the law. The Department of Justice, the Treasury, and the Office of Foreign Asset Control all have the existing and sufficient authority to prosecute criminal acts of fraud, abuse, tax, or sanctions evasion. Some would even argue that these entities have done a better job of attacking fraud and criminal activity in this space than Gary Gensler and the SEC. This amendment is designed to send an important signal, not just to the SEC, but to every regulatory entity in the federal government. Congress will hold unelected bureaucrats accountable. SEC Chair Gensler cannot continue to abuse the powers of his agency to fulfill a political agenda of driving the new and promising digital asset industry offshore. Congress must be allowed to finish its legislative work so the future of digital asset innovation is determined by Americans, not by unelected bureaucrats in D.C. And with that,
this is major news here. It sounds like this congressman is fed up with the SEC, with Gary Gensler and their games of not being able to pass specifically BlackRock's application, or Grayscale's application, for a Bitcoin spot ETF. But the point is that all this is coming. They don't want this technology to go offshore. They want to stay in-house. So this is definitely bullish news, and it sounds like we could be getting some traction in the right direction when it comes to the regulatory body. And we have one more clip, so stay with us to the end. We're taking a quick look at the charts. Bitcoin at the current time it's recording, you see the Bollinger Bands got squeezed. This is on the weekly. You want to typically look at the Bollinger Bands on the 4-hour. And if we make this a little bit bigger so we can see here, you see that this channel was extremely tight, just getting squeezed. We had a fake out here, right here. Oh, look what happened. Bitcoin got back above that 20 moving average and it sort of just keeps getting rejected from this upwards resistance line, which is right around that 35.5 range where we are. Are we going to see a pullback before we see a breakthrough? The Bollinger Bands, when they narrow, this means a big move's coming. Now, the Bollinger Bands can't tell you whether it's going up or down as far as the price action goes. You can try to use other indications. You can try to see other things to see why, which way we could be going. But all in all, a big move is going to come. Every time it squeezes, look what happens last time it squeezed. Bitcoin went all the way from 27,000 up until it peaked up around 35,000. So right now we're in that channel again. Are we going to see a blast up to the upside or downside? Leave your comments below. Now, one thing we want to pay attention to is MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy has been making some moves since the beginning of the year. Since MicroStrategy bottomed out around $133. You got to look at this. This is a company that's levered long Bitcoin. Look what its stock has did since the beginning of the year. It's went up 240%. Well, yeah, you're probably like, Sean, that doesn't matter. Bitcoins did the same thing. Well, look at the Bitcoin price. Let's look at it on the weekly so we can zoom out on the time frames and get a macro picture. Since Bitcoin bottomed out back here, how high has Bitcoin went since the beginning of the year? So we're going up, at the current time is recording, 119%. So you got 119% versus MicroStrategy's 240%. So it's common sense. You see that if a company's levered long Bitcoin, it outpaces the price action of Bitcoin. Don't believe me? Look back here when Michael Saylor first started buying Bitcoin. From the bottom, this was August of 2020, from the bottom to the top, it went up 1,044%. Well, since August of 2020, how high did Bitcoin's price action go? Well, we can do that. We can do that for you really quick too, so you can see the difference and why this is big. Because when other companies realize this, this is going to be a major play for Bitcoin in the crypto space. So look at from when they started buying to the peak, it went up almost 500%, 491%. Look at that. MicroStrategy went up over 1,000%. It went up 2x in percentage points against Bitcoin. It's a no-brainer, guys. The numbers don't lie. Let's hear Michael Saylor and his strategy with his Bitcoin strategy and MicroStrategy. Let's hear from Michael.
I'm looking at, just to give you the numbers that I'm seeing on screen. Since 2018, if you would have bought Bitcoin, you would be plus 82. So the performance of MicroStrategy doubled the performance of Bitcoin. I must say, I didn't realize that. I really thought that MicroStrategy was much more vanilla linked to Bitcoin. But from what you're explaining, it's actually a great leveraged equity bet on Bitcoin.
Year to date, MicroStrategy's up 145%, and Bitcoin is up 55%.
Wow, so triple.
So, and over the course of a year, in 1 year, Bitcoin's up 34% and we're up 63%. So there are different time periods. If I, and I could run them all out. Yeah, the company's got two strategies, the Bitcoin strategy and the business intelligence strategy. So one part of the business is we're running a software company generating cash flow.
And that's generating how much per year, more or less?
About $75 million a year in cash flow.
Fantastic.
In that range.
And there you have a quick excerpt from Michael Saylor and Crypto Banter. So shout out to the Crypto Banter channel. You can go ahead and check them out. But Michael Saylor is revolutionizing how businesses are going to invest their capital. They're going to all have Bitcoin on their balance sheet because they're going to sit here and see his company outperform Bitcoin over this next cycle. And over the next bear market, you can best believe there's going to be major diversification from Fortune 100, Fortune 500, and publicly traded companies getting Bitcoin on their balance sheet because men lie, women lie, numbers don't. And with that, I'm Sean with the Bitcoin Bros. You guys like the content, go ahead and smash the like button. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and show us some love. We appreciate the support. With that, that's all I have for you today, and I'm out.